Hey guys, it's Victoria and welcome back to FemmeHead. Today I wanted to make a little video for those of you out there who might be expecting your first period sometime soon. It's hard to know exactly when your period is going to come. There are signs that puberty has started and there are certain things that happen before others, but it's really hard to say like, oh well, this has happened, I'm going to get my first period in 6 months. But that doesn't mean you can't be prepared and start educating yourself beforehand. So today I just wanted to make a video and share some things that I wish I would have known before my first period, some easy ways in which you can prepare yourself, and just some fun facts. So you've probably learned a little bit about this in health class, but there's actually more to your menstrual cycle than just when you get your period. For the longest time, I just thought it was when you had your period and when you didn't have your period. But there are actually 4 phases to your menstrual cycle. So the first one is your menstrual phase, and this one is when you have your period. This is when your body is shedding the endometrial lining and just preparing for a new cycle. The next phase is your follicular phase, and this is where follicles in your ovaries start growing eggs. And while you only release 1 egg per cycle, your body grows, several eggs per cycle, and whichever one gets there first is the one that is released. The next one is your ovulatory phase. This is when you ovulate. Thanks to an orchestrated release or change in your body's hormone levels, your body releases that egg that has reached its full maturity. And the egg lives for around 24 hours. Your last phase before starting it all over again is your luteal phase. So the follicle that releases that egg that cycle starts emitting and producing progesterone. At the end of your luteal phase, all of the hormones present plummet, and you start a new cycle and entering into your menstrual phase once again. And not only that, but if you start paying attention to these different phases, you'll notice that you feel differently during each phase. For example, during your ovulatory phase, you're going to feel very outgoing, very energetic, very social. During your menstrual phase, you might feel a little bit more calm, not as social, and this is a really good time to be reflective. After your period in your follicular phase, you'll get this burst of energy and motivation, and then in your luteal phase, you'll start to slow down. This is when you can experience those PMS symptoms. The luteal phase is where I feel myself more emotional and just wanting to slow down before I start my period again. I think you can start charting your cycle from right when you get your period, and this can simply just be putting into an app when you have your period, because I wish cycle tracking and period tracking apps were a thing when I was a teenager and had my period, because I had no idea when to expect my next period and I was never prepared and it always caught me off guard. And so I think having a cycle tracking app is so beneficial. The one I use is Kindara. There's all sorts of things that you can chart and track. A great place to start is to go down to the menstruation block where it says start a new cycle today. That's when you get your first real bleed. And don't stress too much about oh, is this medium or heavy, or this is light. When you're first getting your period, you really don't know. So I think it's just a good time to start charting your periods, so you can expect when to get them and make sure that you have period products on hand. But before talking about period products, I want to talk about cervical fluid. So there's a difference between normal discharge and cervical fluid. You always kind of have discharge because your vagina is a self-cleaning organ and it's a really amazing thing. But when you first start getting it, it can be a bit off-putting, it can be embarrassing. I know me, for example, when I first started getting discharge and cervical fluid, I thought that I was infected, that something was wrong with me, but I was not going to tell anyone. But this is totally normal. And cervical fluid is actually a very magical, amazing thing. And I'm not going to get into it too much, but I just wanted to touch on it here and let you know that what you see in your underwear is totally normal and healthy, and it is part of your cycle. And if you start paying attention, you'll notice different types of cervical fluids at different points in your cycle. All right, period products. So a really easy place to start with period products are pads. And so you can get disposable pads or reusable pads. And then another great thing to have on hand when you're first starting off is period underwear. I find that's very helpful. And if you're not quite sure when your period's gonna come, or if you've had a couple periods and you still don't quite know, but you think my next period's gonna be starting soon, you can wear period underwear as a backup added protection without having to wear pads. And then if you're in an activity or sport, you can look into getting some tampons or picking up a cup. I have videos on how to use each of those and tips and tricks on how to get them in and all sorts of good information about tampons and cups. If you guys have any specific questions that you feel like I haven't answered, or maybe you haven't watched those videos and you wanna know, just ask those down below and I'll try to do my best in answering them. Maybe make another tampon or cup video because it is a very intimidating thing to first use a tampon or cup. But I know so many people, even though they've just started their period and they're not super comfortable with it, they are in some sort of like activity or it's summer and they want to go swimming and they can't use pads or period underwear, obviously, when you're going swimming, and it might not be the most comfortable thing in certain sports. So if you think you're going to be getting your first period soon, it won't hurt to have a little period kit with you in your backpack or your bag, whatever you carry around with you. And even if you don't get your period, maybe your friend gets her first period and you'll have stuff on hand to say, here you go, like here's a pad for you. If you do find yourself without any sort of period products and you're at school or at like a sporting event or a get together, don't hesitate to ask your friends, older girls in the groups, female teachers, the nurse, or nowadays a lot of people have cell phones, so you can just text your mom or some female family member and they'll take care of you. And it might feel really embarrassing to talk to other people about getting your period or asking for period products, but I promise that they won't even bat an eyelash because they've been through it. They know what it's like. And like if I could just walk around the halls of like middle school, junior high, and high school and be the person that people could come to ask for period products, I would love that. Anyone you ask has been in your position and they're more than happy to help, so don't feel embarrassed at all. I find that having a good coverage style underwear is very helpful during my periods. I have some thongs, but I've never been a huge thong person. I never wear thongs during my periods. I find it much more comforting to have that extra coverage and protection in case your period gets through your tampon or your pad or whatever. Pads sit better on, briefs or bikini style underwear. And there are like panty liners and stuff for thongs, but that's not going to do much good unless it's just backup for a tampon. Something I wish I would have known before my first period. The blood of your first period, there's a good chance it's going to be brown and not that bright red color you expect. When I got my first period, I'm not embarrassed to say I thought I had pooped my pants because the blood was brown and I was so confused. And I think I kind of put up this shield of like, this is embarrassing, this is uncomfortable, I don't want to think about it. It wasn't long before I was like, oh yeah, Victoria, this is your period. This is what everyone's been talking about. So just know that there are times during your period where your blood might be brown. Blood stains aren't too hard to get out of fabric. For example, if it's your underwear you have blood in, just take those and run them under cold water in the bathroom. That usually gets most of the blood out, but there might be a little like ring around the edge of it. And I find that just using a little dish soap and an old toothbrush and just scrubbing that very easily gets any stains out. I've used that to get stains out of clothes, out of underwear, out of sheets, you name it. You don't want to use hot water on blood stains because that will set them in. Heat feels very good on cramps, so maybe you have a heating pad, or hot baths feel really nice. That's what I came up with when I was thinking through either things I wish I would have known, ways you can prepare yourself. But yeah, I think having some sort of like little period kit, you can get like a little fabric bag with like a zip on it, kind of like a makeup or small toiletries bag, and just put a couple pads in there. And then whether you're at home or you're at school or you're at a friend's house, you'll have stuff on hand. And like I said, don't be embarrassed. This is totally normal. It's totally healthy. And it's a very exciting thing. I wish I could just go back and like shake myself. I was the person that was super excited to get her period. I was one of the last people in my friend group to get it. I was the type of person who couldn't wait to get her period, but was also very embarrassed by it. And I just want to do my part in educating everyone out there about periods and that it's not this embarrassing, scary, gross thing. It's totally natural. There's so many people out there that have periods every month and you are not alone. So don't hesitate to ask for help or any questions. And I am definitely a person and a resource out there. So if you have any questions, no matter how embarrassing they feel, ask them down below and I definitely try to answer them for you. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe if you aren't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.